we have to fill this fake gap between spirituality and science. There's not a real gap, but there's an illusion of a huge gap, and there's a divide, and there are people taking sides, and then some of us are like working like crazy to try and weave it back together, to put it back together so that we don't feel like we're against each other in any way. And I'm talking about things that happen to us every day, like your logical mind just canceling out an intuitive message you got because the intuitive message maybe didn't make sense in a traditional way. Or things like valuing scientific evidence more than direct experience, right? Somehow assigning more meaning, importance, legitimacy to scientific evidence versus direct experience, whether that's, through consciousness, through life, through meditation, through whatever that direct experience happens to be. And the hard message that I received that was leveraged by you have everything you need, was that this kind of logic, this kind of denial of anything that doesn't fit into the parameters of our belief systems is literally driving the soul out. It's creating a stronger gap between the eternal spirit self and the human self. And so it's driving the soul of humanity as a collective out as well, creating a bigger and bigger and bigger gap. And the guide said, people in your world are really worried about AI, but they should be more concerned about becoming AI, becoming artificial intelligence, becoming so logical, so robotic, and most dangerously, so programmed that we lose that sense of sovereignty. And they give me a really beautiful definition of sovereignty, which is being an individual within the whole, within the awareness of the whole. And we've talked about this in different ways in the past, but that one just kind of clicked in for me in this exact moment, that sovereignty actually allows us to be more objective to the world events, and it's really hard to be objective about humanity as a whole because in this human form we've assigned so much meaning to it all, and then it gets really emotionally charged, and then our judgment gets a little clouded, and then it's harder to access the truth. So by claiming that sovereignty and that sense of being an individual within the whole, we're less likely to succumb to the hypnosis or the programming of the group or the majority, whatever majority rules is, which we know even through media is not necessarily the most intelligent stuff, right? Look at pop music and pop movies, and it's not really the most intelligent stuff here that is the most popular. So anything that's really highly popularized, I always have to question, what else might there be to this story? What else is there in the bigger picture? And that's really, really what we're being asked to do, to find that objectivity within our sovereignty. And they specifically told me that if we're not sitting in silence for at least 11 minutes a day, there is no way that we'll be able to develop the subtlety to access that consciousness and that essence below all of the events and all of the varying opinions and all the programs and all that hypnosis. There's no way we can get under it if we can't sit still, be in the silence, figure out whatever our anxiety issues are, whatever our ego is doing to try and distract us, whatever next entertaining thing the mind is hungry for, figure out how to be still and silent for at least 11 minutes a day. Because if we don't develop subtlety to access the truer, deeper picture and to pierce through with our intuition any of the delusion, we'll just continue to perpetuate this separation between the human self and the soul self, between humanity and the soul of humanity. So it's really, really important that we contribute as much as we can right now, that we cultivate this relationship to the inner self, and that we really bring the mind into its most exalted orientation, which is as a servant to the soul. Because a lot of this is so mental, right? So if we can bring the mind into the orientation of being the servant of the soul, then we still have a chance of allowing the soul to lead, of allowing that soulful intelligence, that spiritual light to really guide the way forward. So catch yourself when you really find yourself dismissing your spiritual experiences or your intuitive pings, or right, if you find yourself justifying something with logic, see if you can reconnect to that deeper space of truth that exists underneath all the analyzing and all the logic and everything that we've been taught to value more than our own instinctual, intuitive capacities.